So it's been a long time since I've done one of these videos, and a lot of people have been leaving comments on my videos asking me to do Q&As or to bring them back. And I think it's a good time to do it because there's been so many questions, and I've been talking about some newer things, especially with my bringing back of, sharpening tutorials. Lots of folks are having questions about whetstones and knives and shapes and all that good stuff. So I want to spend, I don't know, I hope to do about one of these a week or one every other week where I just sit down, pull the questions that you guys have directly off my videos. And yeah, so these are your questions. And the way I find them is I basically just go to my comment section on my my creators tab area. And I simply just type in a keyword, like I type in the word whetstones, and all of the questions that have the word whetstones or is related to whetstones will populate. And I literally would just go down the list and pull each question, take a screenshot of it, and I just answer the questions here on these videos. I will do my absolute best to leave all of the items mentioned in the video in the video's description, and if I've missed something, just leave it in the comments, let me know, and I'll do my best to kind of repopulate the description for the item that you're looking for. But before I forget, this is the Kramer SG2 Damascus, and this is a beautiful knife. It's an 8-inch model. November of 2019, I pulled off like 40 knives from my wall and offer them for sale for practically nothing on my Patreon. So this knife here is actually going to Bob Locke. This is going to you, and it's on the house. I hope you like your new knife. All right, so this question is by Shay Hershko. Thanks for another great video. One question: I'm a chef and I want to replace my whetstones for a set of diamond sharpening plates like the DMT. Should I get the Dia Sharp or the Duo Sharp or Duo Sharp? Okay, so Shay, thank you for your question. So diamond stones are great. I actually use diamond stones quite often. As a matter of fact, my favorite diamond plates that I use for sharpening and for repairing knives, chip knives specifically, is the Atoma 140. They're great for low-end, coarse, grinding away lots of material, even up to the Atoma 1200, which is probably my limit when it comes to like where I stop using diamond stones or diamond plates. The Atoma 1200 can give you an edge just as good as any 1000 grit whetstone. Beyond that though, it's hard to really say. As a working chef, I think you are a good candidate for using diamond plates as your everyday sharpening. They're robust, they stay flat forever, they can sharpen lots and lots of knives fairly quickly. I've had DMT stones when I was sharpening speed skates for 4 to 5 years, and they were the original stones that I bought them. So they last quite a long time. For a knife specifically, I find that Atomas work a little bit better. I find that their diamonds cut faster than DMT diamond stones. But again, it comes down to pricing. If you can find dual sharps for the right price, then they're great. I just find them a little bit slower than my Atomas. And also the Atomas, at least the 140, tends to work better as a diamond flattener. I have used the Dia Sharps. I think they're fine. I don't find them to be as versatile as the Atomas. As a chef though, I don't find many chefs going over 3000 grit. So if you want to replace your whetstones, I would say, yeah, totally go for it. I would stop at 1000 grit, whether it be a Atoma or any other brand like a DMT, and I would just simply stop after 1000 grit. So that's just my suggestion though. You can do it any way you want. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to be doing any sort of repairs on your knives. If you are doing repairs, I recommend the Atoma 140 and then hop into either like a Atoma 600 or the 1200 after that. If you aren't doing any sort of repairs at all and you simply want a couple of stones or a couple of plates to sharpen and to bring dull knives back to life, I would go the 400 route, the Atoma 400, then to the 1200, and then strop after that. That way you don't really overlap between the 140, the 400, because they are very close in grit range, and I wouldn't recommend getting two plates that are too close in grit range. I don't know what your collection is in terms of what you have, and I'm not sure if replacing your entire collection of whetstones would be a wise decision financially and also practically. If you only want a diamond plate to either remove chips from your knives and just get the Atoma 140, or if you want a diamond plate to kind of play your main sharpening whetstone role, just go get the diamond, something in the 1000 grit range. And that way you can still have your other stones. If you have, either a whetstone that you use for repairs or you have a whetstone that you use for high polishing, you still have them. So if you're looking for a repairing diamond plate, then get the Atoma 140. If you're looking for a kind of a maintenance sharpening dull knives, and get the Atoma 400 or the 600 if you want something a bit finer. And then if you want an everyday sharpening diamond stone or diamond plate, would be the Atoma 1200. All right, the next question we have here is from Aaron James, and the question is there a really affordable sharpening stone plate that oil won't clog? Okay, so Aaron, diamond plates don't clog because of the nature of how they are made. They don't clog at all. They do get dirty, so it's a good idea to wash them after you use them. In my assessment, a $40 diamond plate versus an $80 diamond plate, there is a world of difference between the two and how they perform. The $80 diamond plate, even though it may be twice as much as the $40 plate, it will perform, it would last more than twice as long, and I find them to be much more easier to use. They cut much better for knives, and they also flatten whetstones much better than your $40 plates. But for me, the biggest reason to save for a higher quality diamond plate is that they function and they last much longer than the budget options. So yes, there are budget options, and I'll leave a couple in the video description that I have used, and I find them to be, again, they're fine. I don't see the appeal of saving $40 to have a plate that may only last or work really well for 6 to 8 months versus spending something like, let's say $80 on an Atoma that have lasted me at this point up to 4 years. So, and it's still working. So the Atoma 140 that I use for all of my repairs and my flattening whetstones, I've had it since the beginning of 2017, and it still works great. And I don't see it dying or, kind of giving out anytime soon. So, even though it is twice the price, I do find that that particular plate has lasted me many times longer than any $40 plate I have purchased in the past. All right, so the next question we have is from the one, and the question is, or the comment is, you should try the Kai Warehouse Whetstone. It's made by the company that makes Shun knives. Okay, so the one, I have used the Kai Whetstone you're talking about, and I believe you're talking about the Shun or Shun Kai 1000, 6000 grit. I have used it. I actually have owned 2 of them. The cutting speed on the 1000 grit side is fine. The responsiveness is not too bad as well. The 6000 grit side is what I find that stone lacking. I don't find it to be a true 6000 grit finish. I find it to be more in your 3000, 4000 grit finish. I think that the 6000 grit side on the King 6000 or the KDS 6000 is better than the Shun's whetstone. So the whetstone I think you were talking about is selling on Amazon right now for $80, which is fine for a 1000, 6000 grit whetstone. For a little bit more, you can pick up 2 great stones like the Cerex 1000 and the Rika 5000. And so for the price of those 2 stones, you're paying maybe $20 more, but you're gonna have 2 stones that are gonna be obviously much larger than the Shun stone. And those 2 stones will outperform the 1000 and 6000 grit side on the Shun, hands down, on any knife. If you absolutely have to have a cobblestone where the 2 sides are glued together, that's fine. I generally recommend people picking up a good quality 1000 grit stone first, sharpening on it, learn it, and get a really good grasp of hand sharpening. And then from there, you can kind of move up the grit ladder to a polishing stone if you wanted a higher polish on your knives, or lower if you wanted something that would help you repair knives faster and sharpen knives faster. So again, to answer the question, I've used it. I'm not thoroughly impressed with the Kai Shun whetstone. I think it's fine, but for $80, you can certainly do better with your money. So the next question we have here is from Mini D3, and the question is, or the comment is, much appreciated, Ricky. Your vids were a great help because of the whetstone sharpening vids. Took some time, but now only have to strop once a week. Well, that's great to hear. And the question here is, only have 90 watt Pro 400 and 1000. And the question is, what would be the next stone? Thinking 3000. Gary in Australia. Okay, these 2 stones you have, the 90 watt Pro 400 and 1000, are going to be basically all you need to get a sharp knife. Beyond 1000, stropping is the easiest way just to clean that 1000 edge up. My preference, or one of my favorite whetstones of all time, is the Naniwa Pro 3000. I love that stone since the very beginning. When I started my channel, I still have that stone. I love it. It's a logical step between the 1000 and 3000. It's not a very big jump between the 1000 and 3000. It certainly will give you a cleaner edge than the 1000. It's hard to say. Most people jump from the 1000 to 6000. However, if you wanted to keep the same brand of whetstones, the Naniwa Pro, there's a 5000 and then there's a 10,000. There's no Naniwa Pro 6000. The 5000 to me feels a little bit softer than ideal. You still can get a very good edge from it. The results I get from that stone, it's great, but it doesn't quite necessarily feel like it's from the same collection as the 1000 or the 800 Naniwa Pro. So if you want to keep the same brand of whetstones, I would say the 3000 is better than the 5000. So my question to you is, are you looking to improve the sharpness that you get from the 1000 grit whetstone, or do you want an actual mirror or mirror-like finish on your cutting edge? If your answer is you want a better edge off of your 1000 grit whetstone, then a leather strop will probably do you better than getting a whetstone, because you don't have to do the sharpening all over again or the polishing motions all over again. You simply just strop on your leather and you should have a really nice clean edge. If your answer is that you want to have a more mirror-like finish on your knife, on the cutting edge, then obviously you would probably want to go to a whetstone. They work faster than your leather strops, especially if you are using Japanese knives or higher Rockwell knives. I mean, the Naniwa Pro has been one of my favorite whetstones of all time, and it still is. I love that whetstone. I think it still is like the best performing 3000 grit whetstone you can possibly buy at any budget. All right, so the next question we have is from Arthur Rapsky Raffi, and any suggestions for a budget whetstone? Ooh, my goodness. I don't know how many times I've actually answered this question. I've mentioned in many videos in the past, the King 1000 grit whetstone is probably one of the best 1000 grit whetstones you can get. I haven't been looking at the King whetstone in probably about a year and a half. The last time I saw that whetstone, it was priced at around $27, $28, which is a very good price for a whetstone. Right above the King 1000 in terms of pricing would be the Syrax 1000. The Syrax 1000 will be priced anywhere between $45 to $55 is what I've been seeing that whetstone for. To me, the Syrax 1000 is the best performing overall 1000 grit whetstone I have used. Very fast cutting, very responsive, and it's a soaking whetstone. Those are my favorite Japanese soaking whetstones at the 1000 grit mark. I have used a number of Chinese made whetstones. I think they're fine. If you want to spend under $20, I'm sure there are stones out there that are like really high quality. The King 1000 will go on sale every once in a while. I think it's worth it to save your money and really get a good quality whetstone. And the perfect example of that is the Syrax 1000. I have sharpened knives up to 66 Rockwell, and it handled it just fine. The King 1000, I have found the limit of that whetstone is about 62 Rockwell. Anywhere over 62, that whetstone gets really slow, and you'll see the stone actually dish and gully fairly quickly when you sharpen knives over 62 Rockwell. So to me, I always say get the best quality you can get from what you can afford. And to me, it's not worth buying a $20 whetstone where I can save to $30 or $40 and get a much better quality whetstone. Okay, the next question we have here is from Nilu Serbin, and the question is, hi Ricky, would you be so kind to recommend a stone for VG10 steel? Thanks in advance. So I get this question a lot. People are always asking what is the best whetstone for a certain steel type. And the truth is, a whetstone has no idea what it's actually sharpening. I have found that VG10 typically will be heat treated from between 60 to 62. That's a relatively high range when it comes to knives in general. Lower quality whetstones tend to sharpen knives up to 62 okay. Like the King 1000, for example. Anything over 62, it tends to be really slow. If VG10 is your hardest knife and it's heat treated between, again, 60 to 62, a King 1000 is going to be all you need. If you have knives that are heat treated higher than what this VG10 is, like if you have SG2 knives or Aogami Supers, Blue number 2s, whatever it is, if you have knives heat treated over a 62, then consider a higher quality stone. Anything from the Naniwa Pro lineup will be fine. Your sharpened glass stones we all find. So anything that's a higher quality lineup of stones will handle VG10 just fine. So don't be fooled. I know that there are people on the forums that will say that you have to use a specific stone brand or stone type to sharpen specific knife type and steel types. I'm not going to get into that debate, but in my personal research, whetstones, they all do the same thing. They just put scratch patterns on your knife. Some whetstones do it faster, some do it slower, but you shouldn't really have to worry too much about what whetstones to use when it comes to your knife. The Rockwell is going to be the biggest deciding factor and how hard or how fast wearing that stone is going to be. So as long as you buy a good quality stone or the relatively one of the higher lines of stone within a particular brand, it should handle VG10 just fine. The sharpness of your knife has all to do with your sharpening skill versus what you're actually using. So if you have a whetstone that you're using now already and it's just taking you longer to sharpen your knife, that's fine. Getting a higher quality stone will just make your sharpening faster. So Nilu, don't look into it too much. Any whetstone on my recommendation list will handle VG10 just fine. All right, so the next question we have here is from Julius. Is that Ganera? And for me, it'd be much more interesting to know if a cheap whetstone plus cheap knife can be as good as a cheap whetstone and quality knife. Usually people don't buy expensive whetstones. Okay, Julius, so I've done many comparisons like this. So Julius, this question kind of ties into the last one. You certainly can get a cheap whetstone and a cheap knife to be very sharp, and you can certainly sharpen a high quality knife on a cheap whetstone and still get it very sharp. The main difference is that on a cheap whetstone and cheap knife, your knife is not going to stay sharp for very long. And then the cheap whetstone and good quality knife, that knife, if it's very hard, it just will take longer to sharpen on that cheap budget whetstone. And your results will be the same as a high quality whetstone. On a high quality whetstone, your sharpening experience will be much faster and much more pleasurable. That's the main difference. This may follow the 80-20 rule where 80% is hard work and 20% luck, or in this case, 80% is sharpener and 20% is the tools that you're using. I always encourage people to hone their skills when it comes to knife sharpening versus worrying too much about what you're using. I've sharpened knives on bricks and I've gotten very good results. So if I can get a knife sharpened on a brick, anyone who buys a cheap whetstone can do the same thing. So to add to your comment, Julius, it doesn't really matter what you use. All that matters is how good are you with your whetstone, how focused are you when it comes to sharpening. If you can hold a steady hand and you develop good mechanics in sharpening, you'll get a sharp knife no matter what you use. So yeah. Yeah, so if you guys want your questions answered, just leave them in the comment section. I do go through them. I may not go through them every single day or as much as I would like, but I do go through my comment sections in my videos, and I will answer any questions you guys may have for future topics. So if you guys have future topics you guys want me to discuss, just leave them in the comment section and I will do my best to answer them.